Hello, everybody. Welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is Thursday, the 9th of April, 2020. My name is CareyHolzman, and today I've got an interview set up with the owner and creator of remote support software, Instant Housecall. So joining me from Toronto, Canada is Corey Fruitman. Hey, Corey, welcome into the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a while. If you guys have been watching regularly, you may recognize Corey. He joined me here in the kitchen, what seems like maybe a year ago, but I suspect, has it been longer?
It's probably, it feels like about a year to me too, but it's probably been a little bit longer. I'm terrible when it comes to time.
Yeah, me too. It's not getting any easier. How are you holding up during the current world events?
Doing okay. I'm growing my self-isolation beard, as you can see.
Your isolation beard? Nice.
That's what yeah. I'm gonna try. We'll see how long this goes on for, but I'm gonna try to grow it nice and bushy. Yeah. How about you? How's stuff going down there?
It's look, we talked about this a little offline. I've sort of been involuntarily socially distancing without my own consent. So it's just another day for me. If anything, things have been kind of super busy. What with a lot of my customers wanting to do remote access that didn't want it before. And then, of course, everybody at home looking for a way to get away from all the media, all the depressing news on TV, with YouTube's popularity being one of the second most watched apps. I think TikTok was the first one. I talk too much to be on TikTok. So I've been super busy and a ton of work, and I'm hoping with the world on pause it'll allow me to catch up. Unfortunately, it's sort of had an opposite effect, but I'm going to count myself lucky. I think they said 1 in 10 people are unemployed right now that were employed, which is a frightening number. But I always say this is where rich people see opportunity. When things crash, this is the time to make your investment so that you have a bigger recovery or a bigger return on that investment. Like, for example, a barrel of oil right now is super cheap, like the cheapest it's been. Eventually that will recover, and if you have the money to invest in it, and you can, perhaps that may be a good investment. But one of the best things I think you can do is to invest in yourself. And I know Corey's having some issue. We might have some freeze up and stuff with Corey's video, so we'll work around that. But the audio should maintain. I don't see you back yet.
I am back. I can see you and hear you.
There you are. Okay, it caught up. Wonderful. So, so what I was saying was, so with the good time right now for certain investments, and I think there's no better investment than yourself. And Instant Housecall is a remote support software, and you have this crazy great idea on how to help people help themselves. And I want to talk a little bit about, I suppose, what Instant Housecall is, and then what this town hall is that you're doing and why.
Okay, so Instant Housecall is remote support software. So I imagine most people are familiar with it. It lets you view and control a PC or a Mac.
Hold on for just 1 second. Turn your camera off and on again for me. It's frozen again.
There we go.
Stand by, guys. We're gonna make sure we can see Corey while he's talking instead of a still image of him. Hopefully we'll have him back here in just a moment. His audio is still there. It's just his video, guys. So there he is. Okay, please continue or start over.
Okay. Or start over. Okay, so it's remote support software for PC and Mac. It will let you control your customer's computer. So it's typically marketed towards IT technicians, whether they're MSPs or break fix techs or IT consultants. They'll use that to remote into their customer's machine, and you don't have to have any pre-installed software. So your customer can just initiate the session with you right away, or you can have unattended access, or there's a bunch of different options there. But those are the two main ones. And you had a second. Oh, right. You were asking about the town hall.
Yes, yeah. I think this is a brilliant idea, and I want to talk about what it is exactly and why.
So the town hall is something for my customers that allows them. What I'm doing is I'm bringing in guests who genuinely know what they're talking about, and this is directed to my customers. But there are ways that non-customers can get in. I'll explain those in a moment. But it's not a sales pitch by me. It's actually genuinely to help my customers improve their businesses, and they'll talk about different things. So the one coming up is going to be talking about how you can help your customers with repatriation when this is all over, and disaster recovery and business continuity, and just different ways that you can help your customer, and different things you can sell to your customers, because we're in different times. And I talk to my customers. Some of them are slammed right now, and some of them have nothing to do. It's going to depend, but there's always an opportunity, and so we're going to try to help our customers help their customers so that it works out well for everyone. And then as time goes on, we'll do other town halls.
It's my understanding that this is also intended to encourage people that perhaps have lost work and or were always thinking of starting an IT business, that this is a good time to start, and there's help available to help them get started doing remote support with Instant Housecall. Is that the same part of the town hall, or is that something else?
The town hall is actually separate. That is something else that we're offering. Do you want me to go into that now, or do you want to stay on the town
Well,
hall
let's talk about town hall for now, and then we'll move into that. For some reason, I was conflating those two things, so that explains why I could only think of 3 of the 4 subjects. That's why I thought that. I thought the town hall was the same thing. So, okay, so the town hall is for pre-existing IT folks who have clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then for that, it's to expand on their current business. And these times do require adaptation. It's important that you adapt to the times. The best example I can give is, Sears was a big company, and Sears will tell you that Amazon put them out of business, and I will tell you that Sears put themselves out of business, and Sears could have done everything Amazon was doing, and they chose not to, and they're not around anymore. There's some restaurants here in the Phoenix area that, because you can't dine in, what they decided to do, since milk and eggs and dairy, et cetera, have been difficult to get in the grocery stores, is to turn themselves into a little marketplace to sell the inventory they would use for cooking. This is on-the-fly thinking. This is instant adapting to meet people's needs instead of being stubborn and saying, this is this is a restaurant, this is what I'm going to do. That's not a good attitude for business. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. That's smart. I have not seen that where I am.
Yeah, a couple of restaurants here in the Phoenix area have sort of become little farmers markets, and they're using their I won't say their ingredients, but the distributors from which they order their ingredients, they're now intentionally ordering gallons of milk and dozens of eggs and cheese and other items, and keeping their businesses open, which I think is brilliant out of the box thinking. And so would you say that this town hall is a little bit about that, about adapting a current IT business to find the silver lining in all of this and adapt to, I hate to use the word exploit it, but I mean ultimately provide a service that wasn't needed or wasn't perhaps as viable as it is today?
I mean, there are new opportunities because of what's going on right now. So, in the past, if you went to your customer and said, we need to get ready for disaster recovery, they may not have thought about that as a serious thing. But now, all of a sudden, it's top of mind. Like, what do we do? And people have lived through this. They've had to take all of their staff out of the office, and they should have had a plan, but I can almost guarantee most of them didn't. And so what we're doing is we're bringing in a researcher who actually researches this stuff every day, and talks to a variety of typically larger customers, but he's going to be talking to the Instant Housecall customers during this town hall about exactly that. So things that you can do, and I mean, I don't exactly know what he's going to talk about, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be repatriation planning, disaster recovery, business continuity, and probably some other stuff that I've never even heard of. But there are all kinds of things that Tex customers should be doing right now that they may not be aware of, and it's your job as their trusted consultant to tell them how they can be prepared for the next time something like this happens.
You're using a term that in context, I think I know what you mean, but would you please define for simple folks like me what repatriation is?
Repatriation is taking, so when the whole coronavirus thing hit, all of a sudden a whole bunch of people went from working in the office to working at home. And if you didn't have a plan in place, that was probably a pretty messy exercise. And it's going to be the same way on the back, on when you're going back. If you don't have a plan in place to bring your customers from working at home back to the office, you're going to lose all kinds of data. You're going to have all kinds of problems. And the answer in terms of how to get those people back is probably not the opposite of what you did to get them there. So I'm certainly no expert on this. I'm a software guy. But Scott, who is a genuine expert on this, and he's going to talk about how different people can do these sorts of things.
And it's my understanding that there is a belief that this will clear up momentarily, maybe for a couple months, and come back and hit us again, so that we should, perhaps when we come back, also have a plan in place to repeat, perhaps a little more smoothly, what we're going through right now. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Just to be prepared. It's very easy for us to have an excuse at this point. None of us have been in this ever in our lifetimes. And things that were not priorities before. Backups have always been a priority, but now, as you mentioned, even more so, especially if customers are using home computers to store company data. That also brings up security concerns as well. My goal and my solution for this is to have all my clients work remotely on their desktop computers at the office. So they're not using or putting any company files on their personal computer. Everything's being done remotely. So they're still working on their desktop computers in a window of an application remotely on their home computers. Right. And there's and that's working for my clients, but not everybody's going to fit into that. And I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Your video's changing resolution, so for people watching this, you'll see Corey's he's getting zoomed in and zoomed out, and that has to do with his internet connection there, which is not working very well. There's been a huge demand, my understanding is, on internet service providers providing all the bandwidth that's going, again, they weren't expecting it. How is this affecting Instant Housecall? How is your bandwidth holding up? How are your servers holding up? I imagine right now, is it busier than it's ever been, traffic-wise, bandwidth-wise?
It is. Now, fortunately, when I say fortunately, that might not be the right answer, but fortunately for today, it's actually not that big an issue. But I don't know if you remember, several years ago, one of my competitors logged me in, changed their pricing structure, and no longer had a free version.
Yeah, that upset a lot of people.
And that caused it did, and so it also caused strain on my servers at the time. And so we were very busy spinning up servers and trying to get everything going to manage that load. Fortunately, from that, and this actually goes back to what we were talking about with planning. From that, we learned, and now it's all on AWS, and it automatically scales up and it automatically scales down depending on need.
Wow.
So we never run out of resources anymore, which is awesome.
That's pretty cool. I wasn't aware AWS offered that ability to scale up and scale down on the fly like that automatically. What a stress reliever that is. It's like going from a manual transmission to an automatic, I suppose, and I'm far more technical.
Really,
yeah.
Yeah, no, AWS is just unbelievable. Like if you haven't played with cloud services before, I cannot more highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm afraid to, because then that's all I'll do.
Right.
So this is why I didn't want one of these things, because I knew I was going to just stare at it all day, and you could see it. It's right within arm's reach. The addiction is strong. Didn't really have that concern with the flip phone, but trying to keep my focus. All right, so the town hall this is going to be, how often of an event is this?
We're going to look at, we're going to start, so the first one is tomorrow, and that's the one that I was describing. We're going to, it's going to depend on guests, and it's going to depend on how long this goes for. So it's something I plan to do throughout the pandemic. Like I said, just keep my customers' heads above water and give them ideas for things to do. The next one's probably going to be on marketing. So I'm trying to get a specific guest in for that. In terms of the frequency, I'm actually going to talk to people at the town hall tomorrow and see what they would like. So it's not set in stone. I'm guessing it'll probably be once every 2 weeks to once every month. But it depends on how much time people have available and what they think is going to be useful for them. So I'm going to talk to everyone at the town hall tomorrow and see what they think.
And what's the requirement or the prerequisite to join the town hall? Who can join in?
So we're Instant Housecall customers, but if you're not an Instant Housecall customer, if you take out a free trial between now and the town hall, you will get access for free to that town hall. So everyone who's there or most of the people who are there are going to be customers. But if you want to join the town hall, you're certainly welcome. Just take out a free trial of Instant Housecall, and you will get emailed the link when that happens. So you get the trial at instanthousecall.com.
And the free trial is good for how long?
15 days.
15 days. Now, I've put links in the video notes below this video, both to Instant Housecall and to the information about the town hall. They can also like you on Facebook, for those that use Facebook, and get updates there. And of course, once you're signed up, you'll get email updates, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Other things about the town hall you want to mention?
I think we've covered all the major stuff. If you don't mind, there's one other thing we're offering during the pandemic to all customers, like our current customers and to new customers, that I kind of like to plug. Is that all right?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so we have there's one feature in Instant Housecall called subaccounts, and Carey, you mentioned before that you have some people who are remoting onto their machines at the office to do their work within that window.
Yes. And I want to mention those clients have to pay $200 a year for each employee that wants to do that.
Right. So subaccounts are actually free accounts on all plans right now. It's typically only on the Everything edition. But because of the pandemic, we've opened it up to absolutely everybody. So no matter which plan you're on, you get subaccounts. And subaccounts are accounts that you can sell or give your customers that let them control their own PCs unattended. So Carey was mentioning he's using something that costs $200 a year. This is something that you can resell to your customers. So I've seen people charging anywhere from $15 a month per computer. Some people are charging $40 per month per computer. But regardless of what you charge, you'll be paying Instant Housecall anywhere from $29 a month up to $89 a month, depending on your plan, and you'll get it for free. Once the WHO declares the end of the pandemic, you'll roll back to your regular plan.
Okay, so to be clear, a different product, not yours. Customers are paying $200 for each employee to access remotely, and it's a one-year plan regardless of how long they actually need it. Yours is a little different, and that you're offering these what you're calling sub-accounts to the IT folks who are using your service, who are already paying for your service, to offer or to resell to their current customers, so they don't have to pay this $200 per thing, unless that's what they want to charge them, I guess. And after this situation, when things return to normal, then that won't be free anymore. Am I understanding that correctly?
Right, that's exactly right. So it'll end up only on our Everything edition, but during the pandemic, it's free to everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. This is what I'm talking about. There's great opportunities here. I think that I have a suspicion that there will be government incentive and employer incentive to keep a certain percentage of remote workers remote. It's good for the environment. It's good for the streets and the traffic and the stress and the congestion. And it's got to cost them less. It's got to cost the company less than not perhaps require as much real estate in the office or air conditioning or power and desktop support, blah, blah, blah. It just seems like this may be an eye-opening game changer for many companies that were full of excuses why they couldn't do it. And that's a change I'd very much like to see stick and grow. They're talking about how the earth is shaking less. The seismologists are just like a rumble that's quieted down. That was always a background noise. They're talking about the pollution levels going down, starting to reverse. So there is some silver lining to this, and hopefully the government can encourage, maybe perhaps with tax incentives or something, companies to keep a certain amount of these remote workers remote as much as possible. The rush on webcams has been insane. We went from people going, oh, my privacy, my privacy, my privacy, to I need a webcam, where can I get one? They're all sold out. So I can voluntarily broadcast the inside of my house to the world.
Right.
The attitude's completely different now.
Yeah.
That being said, so just as a reminder, so the town hall for existing Instant House Call customers, if you're not one and you run an IT business, you should definitely check it out. Now, Corey and I did an interview. Corey came out to Phoenix, and we did a live, here's what Instant House Call is, here's how you use it. And I'll put a link to that prior video for those unfamiliar with the product. It gives you an idea of how to use it and what it can do. And then also the situation regarding what I was talking about earlier is really close to my heart, and that is the opportunity that exists right now if you've always wanted to start your IT business, or if you've lost a job and you got nothing to lose by trying it. Tell me about what you're doing for that.
So there's quite a bit going on right now. So that's called Instant Housecall Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, that's the one I forgot. Okay.
And if you go to instanthousecall.com/Kickstarter, it's a program for people who've been because of coronavirus and want to start up their own IT consulting business or their own MSP or their own break-fix shop. And what it provides is if you were laid off due to coronavirus, Instant House Call offers 6 months free of Instant House Call at the Entrepreneur Edition level. Plus, I will hook you up with one of my customers who will be your mentor for 6 months to help you get off the ground. And that program there's no cost, there's no obligation whatsoever. If you choose not to keep on going with it, there's no obligation. The mentorship, and I want to mention actually that the mentors are volunteers. So these are people who are volunteering their time to help someone new to the business, and so I want to extend my gratitude to them as well.
I want to make sure I understand this correctly. You're saying you're going to give them Instant House Call for 6 months for free, and a volunteer is going to help train them for 6 months, up to 6 months, for free.
For 6 months for free.
And all the money they make from that, all the money the individual that you're helping, that the volunteer is helping, is profiting from all of that free software use, your bandwidth, your software, the volunteers' help. They don't pay a percentage of that back to you? What do they owe you for this?
There are no strings attached. They owe me absolutely nothing.
So they have absolutely nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Sorry, hold on a second. Apparently, I'm having a delivery. I'm getting an Instant House Call. Bear with me 1 second here. Okay, yeah, my apologies for that. I just had a package dropped off. Okay, so it sounds too good to be true, Corey. You're offering the software, the tools the person would need to work from home to fix computers remotely. You're offering a free mentorship, almost free training to help you with everything you would have from problem solving to marketing from somebody who's actually doing it. And all the money they make from that is theirs to keep, and they owe you nothing.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly it.
So why would somebody not do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a very good question.
Wow.
I mean, what I'd like to do, if people, even if you're not interested in doing this, if you can help spread the word, just to let people know. I'm going to be reaching out to the Small Business Administration and their counterpart here in Canada. But the more people that know about this, the better, and the more people we can help, the better.
That's just amazing. What a brilliant idea. 6 months is profoundly generous. I mean, even 30 days would have been nice. 3 months would have been over the top, and 6 months is like if you can't do that on your own after 6 months of hand-holding and software, maybe you're just not meant to be self-employed at this point. I mean, that's great. So where were you, let me just ask you this, where were you in 1991 when I was getting started? Because I sure could have used that a lot.
Yeah, was I in university at that time? I think I might have been in high school. High school or university.
Oh, make me feel old. Okay, that's fine. All right, so people can learn more about this at instanthousecall.com/Kickstarter. And that's the link I forgot. I will add that in the video notes as well. And I've lost my train of thought now. So we talked about Kickstarter. We talked about subaccounts. We've talked about the town hall. There was a fourth thing.
I'm not sure what it was.
Oh, man. Or maybe that was combined into the town hall. The subaccounts and the town hall thing were kind of tied in together. With regards to the way Instant House Call is being used today, would you say it's being used more so today, given the current scenario that we're in, for just remote access to work for employees to connect to their workstations at home? Or would you say it's being more used today by IT workers working remotely to maintain those computers? Just off the top of your head, what's the gist or what's the feeling you're getting from the shift that this is causing and how your software, Instant House Call, is being utilized?
I think it's still being used mostly by IT folks in order to help their customers with their computers. But there's definitely an uptick in the number of people, obviously, who are using it to work from home, using those sub-accounts that we were talking about.
And Instant House Call's been around how long now?
Since 2007. So I can't believe it, 13 years.
13 years. So we're not dealing with some new startup or anything like that. The software's had plenty of time to mature. It's been, I'm trying to think the first time I talked to you about this product was it's got to be more than 10 years ago. And and how has the product evolved a lot? Has it changed a lot over the last 13 years, or is it mostly the same as it's always been?
It's definitely evolved a lot. When it first started, there was no unintended access, for example, which is a very key thing that my customers would expect at this point. We've always been adding stuff to it, and we continue to add stuff to it. And we've got some stuff actually coming out very shortly that change the way multi-monitor works. So it'll actually now spring up separate windows for each monitor, so it's got more of that multi-monitor feel, whereas before you had to scroll back and forth between the monitors. So we're always making improvements. We're always doing stuff to keep our customers happy and keep on upgrading. And I never know what the cost-benefit analysis is on this stuff, but I think it's the right thing to do. So we do it and have a bit of fun doing it too.
I love that you're never resting on your laurels. That you're experimenting, releasing new things. What was like the latest big change to Instant House Call that you can something recent that was added.
Something recently was added with two-factor authentication was something that I'd been wanting to do for quite a while. So everyone watching this, would they know what two-factor authentication is, or should I give a quick rundown?
Give us a quick rundown.
Okay, so a quick rundown. Two-factor authentication means you've got your username and your password, but there's another piece. The second piece is the second factor of authentication. What you do is with your smartphone, you scan a QR code that has a secret that's specific to you, and then numbers will pop up on your phone rotating all the time. And then you type in those secret numbers, and that's how you get fully into the system. So username and password plus the secret numbers gets you logged into work.
Yeah, I got myself in trouble with that. I was paying my cell phone bill through my PayPal account, and for one reason or another, it didn't go through, so I had to log in to PayPal in order to get my phone service turned back on. But my PayPal has 2FA turned on, which sends a code to my phone, but my phone service was disconnected, so I couldn't get the code. But the good news is, and this is what I always say, if it's harder for you to get in, it's harder for the criminals to get in. And the easier it is to get in, the reverse is true as well. Sometimes these things that help, save your passwords, like browser offers to save your password, not a good idea. Certainly a password manager, but not just within the browser itself. It's, again, it makes it easier for you, it makes it easier for them. So apart from thinking that one through, well, didn't really think it through, I had to deal with it. It changed my process a little bit. So 2FA was added, which is good because when we're dealing with remote access, we need to know that that's safe and secure. I have to assume everything is encrypted just like through a VPN when you're connecting remotely?
It is. We use SSL, just same thing that you'd use for online banking, so just like everyone else.
So that's all safe and secure, at least as secure as the password. I mean, if your password is 12345, maybe not so secure. But that's on you.
So actually, if people are looking for an easy way to make a good, strong password, you take three random words, whatever they happen to be. So I'll look around me, and I have a printer, a portfolio, and a plug. And so you capitalize the P on all three, printer, portfolio, plug, and you've got yourself an extremely strong password that is also easy to remember. I can remember a printer, portfolio, and plug better than I can remember some bunch of garbled numbers. And
numbers. Hashtag, exclamation point, lowercase e, uppercase C. Yeah. I hate that. I hate those.
Right.
We're human beings. That's why when you go to google.com, you're not going to, 63.24. Right? We're much better with words than numbers or random characters. And we still have to find a better way. There's got to be another way to fix this whole authentication system that we're using. It's still not good enough. And the number of calls I get from people who forget their passwords that they voluntarily set, it seems like it's getting worse. I had a customer recently couldn't remember his Windows logon password, and I said, well, you've been entering it. He goes, I know, I just can't think of it. I said, that's all right, no pressure. When you think of it, call me. Calls me up, he says, I think it's this. Try it, doesn't work. Well, add this number to the end, tried it, didn't work. I was like, well, when you think of it, let me know. 4 weeks went by, still nothing, absolutely nothing. And, we ended up having to completely reset the machine, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll find another way, something to do with perhaps location, keeping in mind where you're located for, certain login as an option, for example. It's like my cell phone, if I'm, I can turn an option on my cell phone that if I'm within a certain radius of my home, I don't have to keep entering a password. I'd like to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, but I think you're right. Passwords they're a pain. I mean, you can see they're doing some biometric stuff. Like to log into my bank, I can use my fingerprint now on my phone. And I have a regular Surface, but the newer Surfaces, or I have a Surface 3 rather, but the newer Surfaces will use your face as your authentication. So I'm sure we're going to see more and more of that stuff coming down the pike. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it'll end up being.
Yeah, there's more to come on that. I was kind of curious if you had some ideas, but you're sort of stuck like I am. There's probably some simple thing we're overlooking because I think we're
Right.
overthinking it, but we'll certainly expect some changes there. With the current situation, what do you think? As far as what are you prepared for at Instant House Call, as far as expectations with this current situation? Are you prepared for as long as you need to be? Are you prepared for just a few months? Like what are your thoughts and opinions on how you think is this going to get worse before it gets better? What's your take on it, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so the models that I've seen now, I mean, although I'm in Canada, we get mostly American, we get a lot of American media here. So the stuff that I see is mostly related to the U.S. And from what I've seen, it looks like the peak in the U.S. is going to be sometime relatively soon. So then it'll start to wane. But like you said, people are going to get reinfected. So we can have a dip, but then it could go right back up again. Now, I'm not an epidemiologist and I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. So I'm just sharing what I've sort of heard.
But as it relates to Instant House Call, as somebody who's running a business in response and in reaction to this, I guess what I'm sort of aiming at is from a business standpoint, what are you sort of planning or expecting, or are you not?
Yeah, so I'm expecting. I expect that this work from home thing is a lot of companies that were reticent to do work from home are going to do more work from home. So that's gonna cause, obviously a higher need for remote support because people are going to be not in the office, and you're going to have to help them with their machine somehow. The other thing that I'm expecting to see, and I think our whole industry should probably be getting ready for, is more BYOD. So bring your own device, where people use their own PCs, their own smartphones, whatever it happens to be. I think you're going to see much more of that after this happens. I'm looking into my crystal ball, obviously, but I think these are natural outgrowths of the lessons that we've learned throughout this whole process.
Do you think there may be an opportunity there for Instant House Call used in remote learning, perhaps with schools and things like that?
I mean, I think most of the schools are using things like Google Classroom. I know that my son is. Some of the private schools are using things like Zoom. Instant House Call is a tool for IT pros. It's not. It's not like it's not about remote meeting. It's not about video conferencing. It's specifically for IT pros to get the job done. And we focus specifically on that market. We don't.
Gotcha.
There's other tools out there that are better for for remote meetings, but we focus on remote support and remote access, and specifically for IT pros.
And I want to remind everybody that when Corey was here, we went through step by step, not only on how to install Instant House Call, but pretty much through every menu option and feature available at that time. And of course, it's since evolved a little bit since then. There are probably new features and perhaps even a bit of a change of the look, but it is still the same product, and all the same things, all the same features that we showed are still there, and then some. And if you want to learn more about it, I'll put a link, as I mentioned, to our in-person time together in the notes below this video. I had planned for us to be together here for an hour today. I kind of feel like we've covered everything, but we still have about 20 minutes. Is there anything else you want to mention, bring up, talk about, on topic, off topic, things we haven't mentioned?
Sure. What I'd like to do is just offer the URLs for all the different programs that we've talked about. So for folks who are interested in learning about the town hall, you can read about that on the blog, which is instanthousecall.com/blog. If you're interested in learning more about the subaccounts that are being offered for free during this time, you can see that at instanthousecall.com/coronavirus. And the Kickstarter page is just being made right now, so we're going to be the framework is there, so you can see all the details at instanthousecall.com/Kickstarter, and just keep an eye on that as it grows, and you'll see that we'll be adding more detail as time moves forward. But like I said, if anybody has any ideas for how we can reach these people, reach out to the folks that have recently lost their jobs and want to start up tech businesses. If there's any way to reach out to those people that you can think of, please contact me at Corey, Corey, at InstantHousecall.com.
Excellent. I'm just, right now, if you hear me typing, I'm copying these links into the live chat room right now. If anybody has any questions for Corey in the chat, please go ahead and ask that now. There's about a 90-second to 2-minute delay, Corey, between when you and I talk and when they hear us. So I'm going to stall for time here for a moment, and I'll put your email address in the chat too, which is, one more time, what's your email address?
Corey, Corey, at InstantHousecall.com.
Perfect. Corey's name is just like mine, just a different vowel there. I've been called your name many times, so no confusion.
And I yours, actually.
Yeah.
And no one knows how to spell my name either. Without a doubt, I get CRY, CRIE, KORI, you name it, but they never get the right spelling of my name.
Yes, you and I share that unique burden of they say Terry, Gary. I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. I don't even bother correcting people anymore. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm just looking through the chat here to see if we've missed any questions. Let's take a look. A couple of contributions came in during today's live feed. I'll give a few shouts out to these kind folks that are helping keep me sponsor free. Thomas Beckenstowe contributed $20. Hey, Thomas, thank you. Francis Martin contributed $5 Canadian. He says, another great show. Thanks, Carey. Madi UL joins us from Florida, contributed $10, and Rick Lates contributed $5. Madi again with another contribution. And Wilhelm Gordon and Madi contributed the first contribution today, half an hour before we got started. Wonderful supporters, great community. Thanks, you guys, for helping keep me sponsor free. I do want to reiterate that Corey is my guest here. He is not a paid sponsor. I like Instant Housecall. I like what he's doing in these times of fear and anxiety. It's very important to have the right attitude and to see opportunity where perhaps others are not. It's certainly not as competitive right now. I can tell you that. People. I've heard every story, Corey. I imagine you've heard it too. They go, "Oh, I live in a big city and there's just too much competition for me to start my business." Or they say, "I live in a tiny little town and there's not enough people in it for me to start my business." I mean, you have to. Those are your excuses, and this separates the people, the wheat from the chaff. The people who say one thing, and people who talk the talk but don't walk the walk, I guess, is what I'm trying to spit out here. And if you're sincere about it, this is a great time, since you're sort of stuck in your house anyway. So I don't know how many other businesses you can run from your home like this. I'm sure there's got to be others, but this is, like, if I had an inclination to want to do this and just made excuses as to why I never started, good luck coming up with an excuse now. Now it's on you, is what I'm saying.
Right. It's like, look at me. Like, I'm a small business owner, just like you, and just like most of my customers. And you would, all those excuses that you brought up, they're just that. They're just excuses. Like, if you look at my competitors, I am so tiny compared to my competitors. It's not even funny. But I've carved out my own niche, and I've got my own little customer base, and it's worked out well for me for, like you said, for 13 years. And so there's always opportunity, and if you can specialize, or if you can figure something out that nobody's figured out before, you'll do well. And it's just, I think the hardest thing for most people is probably marketing. That's probably the biggest challenge, in particular for technical people who don't really know how to sell. They know how to do what they do, but they don't know how to sell.
Oh, I'm a terrible businessman. Terrible. I'm like the worst. Can you fix this? I'm like, I wouldn't. Why not? Well, because it's old and the money you've given me to fix it could be going to something new. Well, what can you sell me? Oh, I don't sell anything. I just don't think you should. Yeah, I'm a horrible businessman. But I just tell people I'm just honest. I just go, look, I don't think it's worth it. At some point, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Time to let it go. Let's see, in the chat, this is from Robert Jones. Does one need to have a PC with special requirements to do Instant House Call?
Well, I mean, not really. Anything that's up to date is fine. So Windows 7 to Windows 10 is fine. Windows XP, we don't test against, so I can't promise that it works with Windows XP. I would say Windows 7 Plus because we do still test against Windows 7, and you should be good to go. So any reasonably modern PC, and I think 7 is even 10 years old by itself. Any reasonably modern PC will do the trick. Mac is good from High Sierra up, and I don't know my Mac operating system particularly well, but I know that the lowest version that we currently offer for Mac is High Sierra.
Okay, good to know. And it also works on Android or tablets or, I don't know.
Not Android and iOS at this time.
Okay. Is there like a web interface you can use?
No, it's just installed. It's installed software, and there's actually good reasons for all of that. So when it comes to Android and iOS, I don't know if you know much about the app ecosystem, but they're what's called sandboxed. So one app cannot talk to another app, like scrape the screen the same way you can on a PC or a Mac, because the apps are sandboxed. Then in terms of the web interface, the web is definitely an option. We looked at it and we ended up not doing it because it restricts you in several ways. So for example, if your browser is closed, obviously you can't get an incoming call. Whereas we put a system tray icon on the bottom right, which is a little bit less intrusive, and you can be going about working throughout the day doing your thing. It also lets us do things like that multi-monitor that I was talking about, where you can have multiple monitors split up onto the screen and in separate windows. You can't do that in a browser. And so the browser is a little bit of a restriction, where we want the ability to do things like pop up two windows in order to show multi-monitor.
Yeah, what I have found with multi-monitors, when you put two monitors on one monitor, everything gets real tiny. You can't read anything.
Right.
It's like a postage stamp.
Right.
So I imagine there's some way to zoom in.
There is, yeah. So, I mean, I'm not sure if there's any Instant House Call customers watching right now, but if there are, all you have to do is go to Tools and then Settings and change the zoom level. In the next version, we're actually going to be making some improvements on that, and I'm just going to keep that under my hat for now, but just know that when it comes to exactly what you're talking about, Carey, with the size of the screen and multiple windows, there's some great stuff coming down.
Excellent. That's been a long time frustration. Many of my customers have two screens. One of them has two 4K screens, so that's real fun to look at it on 1920 by 1080 side by side. Yeah. Okay, just kind of looking through the chat here. Would this work on an AMD A10 system? That's pretty weak. You ever run Instant House Call on like an Atom processor or things like that, the real low-end stuff? Budget line computers?
I haven't. I can tell you Instant House Call doesn't take much in the way of resources. So I would think it would run on an Atom quite well.
Oh.
But it's not something we test against. We do all of our testing inside of VirtualBox for people who are familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't. I actually don't anticipate there being any issue with an Atom processor. But if somebody tries it and wants to tell me otherwise, I'd be all ears. I'd love to know.
Yeah, the trial's free anyway, so it costs you nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, they're asking what? This is not an Instant House Call question. Well, I'll throw it at you anyway. Sorry, I lost it, and I'm trying to find it again. The chat was moving in. I just had it. What conference call software would you and Corey recommend, considering the security issues around Zoom? I know Zoom has addressed a number of these things, like they're not showing the conference ID on the screen anymore. And the CEO was pretty embarrassed about this whole situation and has asked for some assistance from some group, some security group, CISO or something like that, as I recall. I don't know. I don't use any of this stuff. You like Zoom, don't you, Corey?
You know, I'm going to be using Zoom for the town hall. I'm not sure that I would say I like it or I don't like it. I know it works, and I know for what we're looking to do, it'll work well. Whereas something like Skype, like what we're using now, wouldn't be good for that number of participants.
Sure.
So that's now what I would like to try, and I just don't have the guts to try it with a town hall because people will lose people if it doesn't go well. But there's actually an open source tool called Jitsi, and JIT, I think it is, and that's an open source version of this. I very much like to try it, so I'll hopefully give that a shot in the reasonably near future. And then inside of Nextcloud, which is something that I do use and I very, very highly recommend, there's a feature called Talk, which I would also like to use. But again, for now, I'd rather pay somebody like Zoom, so I've got someone to lean on if there's problems and get support and all that other stuff. Because free is fine until it costs you money, right? And then
that's the problem with free. You get no support with it, and there's nobody to really complain to. Like, there's a comedian, Nick Thune. He says, using my neighbor's Wi-Fi, and they didn't pay their bill. I mean, talk about irresponsible. Mm-hmm. And you can't complain to the service provider, right? Hey, my Wi-Fi is not working today. What's your Wi-Fi? It's my neighbor's. That just cracks me up. So the Jitsi, or whatever that's called, I've never heard of that before. I'll put a link to that. That's very interesting, sort of an open source video conferencing software. Multi-platform open source video conferencing. Never heard of it. And here I was thinking that was a softball question, and I learned something new. So thanks for asking that. Let me take another look here in the chat to see if I've missed any other questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up here. Let's take a quick look. How much size in megabytes or gigabytes is the Instant Housecall software?
So there's two sides to the Instant Housecall software. I think the specialist side, what we call a specialist, which is where the IT pro signs in, and then there's the customer side. And I believe both are under 10 megs. I can tell you it takes a matter of seconds to download them. So in terms of size, they're both reasonably small.
They're both lightweight applications. I had to download a Realtek audio driver. It was over 200 megabytes. The NVIDIA driver is now over 543 megabytes. It's crazy. That's just a driver for video or for sound.
Oh, I know.
And Instant Housecall with remote access and all the tools it provides at that 10 megabyte size, that's incredibly optimized, it sounds to me. So it's very, very lightweight package there. And of course, you can check it out. You can download it for free. How does Instant Housecall differ from TeamViewer? Well, you're going to have to decide that on your own. I think it varies. I can tell you, Instant Housecall provides a lot of technical tools that techs would use in repair and maintenance, fast removal, that TeamViewer does not. There are pros and cons. It's like asking me the difference between, I don't know, Ford and Chevy or Coke and Pepsi or whatever it is. They're out to accomplish a very similar task. They take two different approaches and have emphasis, in the case of Instant Housecall, it has emphasis on the IT technician far more than, in my opinion, than TeamViewer does. It's also a fraction of the cost of TeamViewer. But at that, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to. I didn't want to put you in that position, Corey. So, but if
TeamViewer, it's a very good product, but it's kind of what we were touching on before. So Instant Housecall is made specifically for techs. Like Carey said, there are tools specifically in there for techs. The ease of use for getting your customers connected, is because we know a lot of your customers just aren't that tech savvy. So, TeamViewer has a code that you have to type in. Instant Housecall have a code to make it a little bit easier on your customers who are either elderly or not tech savvy or whatever it happens to be. TeamViewer, kind of like we were talking before, is more of a 3-in-1 tool. They do meetings, they do remote control, they do remote access, they do remote support. Instant Housecall is very much a text tool for text. So we don't do remote meetings. We focus everything on technical people, helping their customers with the understanding that their customers aren't tech savvy, and the understanding that the IT pro, or what we call a specialist, is tech savvy. So you'll see that when you're using the two systems. They just differ. Like Carey said, it's kind of like Coke and Pepsi or Chevy and Ford. They're both cars, or they're both pop, but the people that they appeal to are a little bit different for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, and so depending on who you ask, somebody might like one over the other. It doesn't mean they're right. It just means they're right for themselves, right?
Right.
For their needs, expectations, and budget. I'll tell you one of the main differences with Instant House Calls. If there is a feature you want added or you're having a problem, it's real easy to talk to the developer. Good luck doing that from the big guys out there. One of the benefits of sort of being the underdog is you got to work a little harder. You got to try a little harder, and you're not also being taxed as much. There's not so much bureaucratic red tape or just bureaucracy in general. With a smaller company that's more nimble, more flexible, can charge you less, offer you more in the sense of features, benefits, and support, much more personal. I don't think I've ever called and listened. I don't think I've ever called Instant House Call and heard, your call is very important to us. Your wait time is 27 minutes. No, wait a minute. How can my call be very important to you and I have to wait 27 minutes? One of these things is not true. And so there is a benefit to that as well. And I'll tell you another thing. I deal with the folks over at TeamViewer, and it can be very frustrating because they're a German company, and they want to do everything in the German way. And I said, look, if you're doing business in America, you got to do things the American way. They go, no, we don't. And that's really frustrating that they justify there's some business culture I don't agree with. And their justification is that's the German way. And I'm like, but I'm not German, and I'm not in Germany. And that is a very frustrating part that I've personally had to deal with the folks at TeamViewer. And then, of course, you've got other large companies doing this. I'm not aware of anybody that's doing what you're doing that's at this level. Like when you compare the size of the people that people in the chat are comparing you to, the companies, they're giants. And yet you're right up there with them. They're not comparing you to, like, I don't know, some free, the thing the scammers like to use. In fact, I've never had one of those scammers have me install Instant House Call, ever. They're always pointing me to one of these little companies.
Yeah, I can actually tell you why. So there's a bunch of stuff we do to make ourselves very unappealing to scammers. One of them is that there's a little window that shows that you're connected, so they can't do that. They can't be, they can't be secretly connected. But the others, things like file transfer, are transparent to the end user. So we do it with a right-click context menu. So when you're transferring a file, the customer can see that you're transferring a file. There's no secret. Whereas some other tools, which will remain nameless, they have a window that the technician can see, and they can just transfer files back and forth. The customer has no idea what's going on. We make it very transparent, very clear, and it keeps the scammers away, because we're just an unappealing. Our software doesn't appeal to them, and for it does appeal to other people.
Yeah, and it just shows you what I have found with the big companies. They don't care who their customers are. Mm-hmm. If you're showing you've got 30% more usage, that's great to tell your marketing people or perhaps even your shareholders, even if a large percentage of that 30% are just a bunch of scam artists utilizing your software for their personal gain. They leave that part out. They don't seem to have much incentive when I've talked to these companies and made them aware that, hey, you guys are number one as far as the scammers are concerned. Is that something you should be proud of? Very rarely do I ever get a response from that. So again, dealing with a smaller company, dealing with an individual who actually cares that his software is not being manipulated and potentially harming the reputation of the product. You know what came to mind just now is the Tommy gun. The Thompson submachine gun was invented to help defend America in trench warfare. And when it came out, the World War I had ended, and gangsters started buying that Tommy gun, and it became a symbol of gangsters. And the guy who invented it never intended it to be used for that, and it's what it became known for. And you think about, he didn't have a whole lot of control over that, but at least here, I think it says a lot about why somebody starts a business, right? Some people are starting a business just to earn money any way they can make money any way they can make it, and other people want to earn their money, but they want to do it in a way that, in any way, shape, or form, isn't potentially causing harm to somebody else as a consequence of that. And knowing, I believe, that your software could be utilized to scam people out of money, apparently bothered you enough that you did what you could to stop that or discourage that. And I think that says a lot about you and about the product. And of course, challenge me if I'm wrong, but if anybody's out there ever had a scammer tell you to download or use Instant Housecall, I'm telling you, I do those calls live. I never know what's going to happen. Never. Instant Housecall's never been the tool. So that right there, the fact that scammers don't want to use it, that's a good sign. So, all right, let me just look one more time here through the chat. Let's make sure that I'm not missing anything. We're just over an hour here, so we're right at about the time I was planning. Yes, Corey has been having some issues with the webcam. You can see, like right now in this view, he's got a really good connection right now, and it's taking up the whole screen. And when I resize it and make it smaller, then his bandwidth or something's changing, and it gets really tiny. So I'm not. Anytime you're seeing his video get bigger or smaller, that has to do with a bandwidth, either through the ISP or I don't know, something weird going on there. So the way I'm kind of getting around that is either going full screen on myself or going full screen to Corey like that. And then every once in a while we come back and it's I'm looking at it, I got a quarter of your face. It's great. Oh boy. So see, like I can fix that. I can go in here and I can readjust that. And I know the minute I do it, oh no, see, it's just did it on its own. Where are you? There you are right there. I can resize Corey's cam. Put you right there. And we'll see how long it'll last. But all right, so all the links to everything we talked about are in the video notes below the video. Corey, thank you so much for taking the time out to join me today, and good luck with the town hall meeting tomorrow. Hope you have a great turnout. And if people want to get invited to that right now, like between now and when it happens, it's happening one more time. I know it's tomorrow, April the 10th. At what time?
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern, okay. And then again, they can download the trial to Instant Housecall. And will that automate like an invite, or what would that? How would that?
They will. So yeah, what they'll do is what'll happen is they'll get an email tomorrow with the link to Zoom, they would love to have you there, and it should be fun for everyone. It's going to be a relatively small group, so there'll be lots of time for Q&A. And kind of a conversational thing. It's not going to be a big presentation with PowerPoints and all that other junk. It's going to be me and Scott sort of chatting and talking about the different opportunities and the different ideas of things that you can help your customers with. And then people are welcome to jump in with questions or comments or ideas on their own as well.
Awesome. All right. So again, instanthousecall.com. Check it out. It's a 15-day free trial if you've never used it before. And if you're looking to start your own computer IT business, working remotely from home, learn about the Kickstarter project at instanthousecall.com/Kickstarter. These links, as well as the earlier interview that Corey and I did about a year, 2 years ago, whenever it was, I'll be adding that to the video notes as well. I just know I'm going to go back and it's going to be like 6 years ago.
Right.
I know it wasn't, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing well. Stay safe, and glad to see that this outside of the box thinking that you're providing here is inspiring to me. I love it. Keep it up. And then we'll follow up here maybe next month. We'll get back together and see where we're at, and see how the town hall is going, see how Kickstarter's going, and we'll just follow up in general.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to it, and thank you very much for having me on.
Well, thanks again. And for all my friends in blue there in the chat room, thanks you guys so much for keeping it civil in there. I don't think we had much in the way of trolls today. For everybody who contributed during the live stream today, thank you guys as well. It's my goal to get everybody in my chat room blue. Basically, the way that happens is don't be a jerk. You know, if I see your name regularly and I see that you are supportive and kind to other people, it's my goal to have this community grow and grow and grow, and to identify those who have proven themselves to lead by example, to be kind and supportive, to turn the whole chat room blue. I would love it if you would help me in that endeavor by just not being a jerk. It's real easy. In the meantime, I'll be back live again tomorrow, an interview with former PC world journalist Steve Bass, and we're just going to perhaps have a little nostalgia, talk about how technology's changed over time. And Mike Smith and I are going to do another Tech Vets here very soon. Maybe tomorrow after the initial interview. Don't know yet. We're still working the details out. In the meantime, everybody stay safe. Thank you so much for joining myself and Corey Fruitman of Instant Housecall today. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.